What's going on? Episode 12, Conversation with Coaches. Going to have Stacy Bama Burr on this week, which is very, very exciting. Her and I have a long history, several years worth, and quite a successful history at that. So we'll come on and discuss that. Of course, everybody likes to hear about those things and the garage of greatness and all the fun little things we had going on. And we're also going to talk about how she has developed and pivoted from her business standpoint, where she's at with her coaching and the whole nine. And there's a pretty good story of like a collegiate athlete becoming a powerlifter, then a bodybuilder, and a whole nine there. She sent the view request. So let's kill time by just making stupid faces and fidgeting my hands like I always do. But not that Stacy needs much introduction, so hopefully we have a good connection here. Instagram's been a little bit of a hoe and not loving me. There's Stacy. What's happening?
What's up, Trevor?
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. How are you?
Best I've been in a long time. Life is good. So these are really good times. I am enjoying them, and I have a busy as shit schedule, but I swear to God, as promised, once my schedule slows down, I will come out and visit you in Austin and stay with you and go through the torture of one of these bodybuilding workouts I see you posted, because God knows I haven't done that in too long.
Oh, man, come on. Anytime, you're welcome. My garage is also open. So we have plenty of options here. You're more than welcome. But how hot is it in Florida right now?
Well, the sun's not out right now because it's been raining, so it's not that bad. Although it's humid as shit, as you remember. The garage is humid. Although you were there like the end of time, not the beginning of time. Like July,
the end of time
is the epitome of hell here. Everyone wants to come to Florida, and I'm like, just don't come in July and August. It's awful. The humidity and the temperatures makes it feel like it's like 102, 103 on average each day. And it's like 80-something plus % humidity. So even walking from my front door to your mailbox, you sweat.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Here in Texas, it's like 110-ish. And honestly, I'm not a punk about much of anything, right? Like, I'm not a punk, right? But this is... I walk outside and I'm like, I just got back from San Diego like yesterday, I think, and the weather there was like perfect. It was like 75, 77, and everybody was like, oh, it's a heat wave. It's so hot. And I was like, I'm happy to be here. We can ride the Uber with the air conditioner off. I don't care. That's fine. So, but yeah, you're welcome out anytime. I love to come. I'll be back in Florida for I think the girls who powerlift me in August. My girl Tasha's competing there.
Oh, that's awesome. I love Tasha. She's got so much energy. I will actually be back at Elite FTS in Ohio to work with Obiaka. So I'm going to have a little fun programming not geared everything, just his deadlift, and learning how to wrap his knees from Rudy Rosales himself, who makes the overkill equipment. Yeah. So Rudy's going to teach me how to wrap him because he's doing the Olympia, and I'm going to wrap his knees for the Olympia. And for those who don't know, I wrap Stacy's squats, all three of her all-time world record squats, the 545, 555, 565. I got to wrap those, which was really fun.
Sure did. And the first time even was kind of like an accident thing, right? Or like it was like just a situation that the guy had that been wrapping me was Dallas Norris, and so I was driving 2 hours just one way, and there and back to get Dallas to wrap me, and then Dallas was competing that same day. And honestly, I kind of liked the way that Trevor wrapped me too. I was like, I don't need that super, super intense wrap, right? And the way that you wrapped me was just like perfect, right? Like enough compression where it's not like, oh my God, just get me out of this, right? Like Dallas would be like, I feel like I was going to die, right? But then so it ended up, he was competing. So to save like his forms and stuff, like you wrapped me on that first one. And I was like, yes, absolutely perfect. And then just, I don't know, you like what you like, and then I wouldn't leave you. So
I judged the wrap by the person and the load on the bar, and I were struggling to get the depth of the way he was wrapping you. And then Gabe, somebody who I coached for a while, was also wrapped by Dallas several times, and he asked me to wrap him one time when he was down here after he had moved down here. And I'm like, all right, so about an 800 plus pounds, so I'm gonna go full on like 10 wrap. And I wrapped him down. He was like tapping out. I've never been wrapped that hard in my life. I'm like, I've had Dallas wrap me. I know how much that hurt.
Oh my God, yeah. Like let's get this over with. I'll squat whatever this is on the bar if I can get the depth. Right? If I can get the depth, I'll squat it and then just get me out of this.
Yeah, when he wrapped me for like 635, and enough to get down. Like I got like 2/3 of the way down and I couldn't move. I'm like, okay, I'm coming back.
Yeah, I was like, this doesn't feel at the time. Come on. I was like, okay, all right, fine. If my quad just snap off, that's fine. I'm just gonna do it. So we made it. Everything's fine. But yeah, so that's really exciting. That like I love when I was up at Elite FTS and like just like talking to Dave was so cool. But like that'll be really fun. That'll be a fun learning experience.
Dave is like the best friend you've never met, but you can pick that a conversation with him for 4 hours the day you meet. Weird. It's so cool. I want to give an introduction, not that everyone doesn't know who you are or needs to, but not everyone knows your competitive history and coaching history.
Okay.
You were a collegiate softball player where you got a degree in exercise science. A lot of people don't know. I think she's just the lifter who's inside of the coach. Stacy has the degree in this, which already puts her levels above most people. So competitive athlete softball, come into powerlifting kind of on a whim because people in the gym say you're strong, which we all know the all-time highest ever Dots Wilkes score, which is still the third highest ever, and it was done 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago almost. How spectacular that was. 1435 at 148 with 565 squat, 320 bench because we cramped on 330. And
oh man, you gotta bring it back. Yeah, I didn't forget. Don't worry, that was the only thing on my checklist that I didn't forget. Don't forget. And then 550 deadlift, and that's what we needed. So
done in 8 because that was the mantra. There's an article that Elite TS is going to be posting soon that I wrote. I'm writing articles for Elite. How scary is that?
That's exciting.
Yeah. The second one was titled Live Your Outcome, and that involves you in the story of creating your outcome and living the outcome, not living the goal. So it's a whole detailed story on mindset and stuff that goes over that, what we went through and done in 8 and the whole 9, moving in, going all in, everything.
I can't wait to read it and share it. That'll be awesome. I can't wait to hear.
Stacy retires from competitive powerlifting at that point because once you reach the mountaintop, there's nowhere to go. And the goal was fulfilled to your grandfather, which, it was like, I'm going to be the strongest person in the world. Goal was achieved. Let's move on. You have always had a fascination with bodybuilding, and when you moved to Austin, Texas, you hooked up with bodybuilding coaches and bodybuilding preps, and you have gone extremely all in. If anyone didn't see the comp photos of what Stacy looked like on comp day, I posted a video in my story yesterday of like kind of off-season building, and I looked at that, I was like, damn, what a...
I was huge.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I noticed. I was like,
well, I want to talk about it because this is great. This is really one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on. Because one of the biggest issues that Stacy faced during powerlifting time was she had, I want to put this properly without butchering it, but you had a little bit of hesitation with counting macros, tracking macros. It made you very uncomfortable, almost like disordered eating, and it made you very nervous to do so. The thing that obviously you had to learn how to do and then teach others how to do as well who also struggle with it, because the biggest part of nutrition is people get very, very frustrated by the process, scared by the process, or they create disordered eating. You had to really learn how to track to the calorie, to the macro, to the time of your cardio, everything as a bodybuilder. And if you saw the pictures of what Stacy looked like as a powerlifter, yeah, she was jacked, but if you saw what she looks like as a bodybuilder, she was fucking shredded. Like unbelievable. Like you've seen photos of me at like 181 weigh-ins, like I'm diced. But that's not even close. Like I'm like fat compared to competition stage Stacy at this point. It was wild. So how did you develop that mindset that you were okay to track and record everything? Because that's important for people to know, because that's obviously something you teach other people now.
It truly is, and I'll take it from the top, right? An incredible journey, right? When I got done with powerlifting competitively, and I reached my goals, there was a time period there, like afterwards, where I was just like, honestly, I didn't want to train. Like I didn't really feel the desire to train. Like when training's been I love to train. Like I love to train. I've loved to train my entire life, right? Like even when I was, a college athlete, like I loved to train, and I kind of lost my desire a little bit because I just felt like I didn't know who I was other than that. Like outside of the powerlifting, I remember walking out your house, and I've told people this, I was, upset, right? I was like, well, I did the thing now, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And you're like, go live your life. And I was like, I don't know how, And so like, I remember, I did too, because it was honest, right? Like I was scared of the real world, and it's been some time. I've been scared this whole time, right? But I've just been figuring it out. But when I was powerlifting, that was the only thing that I really worried about. That was the only focus. That was the singular thing. And now being, really focusing on building my business, on doing something else, on like going completely in a different direction with like, my training, with everything else. These are all the actual real stresses, right? Like once you add in different variables and managing your training all as well, that the things get really interesting there, right? But I'll say, so for the period of time after I got, I left from you, and I just kind of like tried to figure myself out, like who was I outside of the best in the world, right? Who was I outside of this power lifter that could move mountains? Like my lifelong goal, I achieved it, and I didn't know what to do. And so I kind of fell in a little bit of like, a kind of little sad girl depression-ish, right? And then I really, like, I was still training afterwards, but then I just didn't really have a direct goal, like, in sight. And just, I don't know, like, I got really focused on my athletes and building my business and growing. And I still kind of like, I resented almost like the macro tracking and like all the stuff. And I almost resented it, right? I was like, I don't really want to, I still have, I still had issues then with like, just like, I've always used food as fuel, right? Like food as for performance, right? So like, if I need to eat this before the big squat, that's what I'm going to eat. It's not really, I have a little bit of, some wiring mix ups there, right? So that's something I've been working on for sure. But it's like, I still didn't want to track and stuff. And so over time, just with a little bit less intensity, a little bit less adherence to my tracking, I just kind of looked at my body and I was like, who am I? Right? Like I just like I felt soft. I didn't feel, to other people I still look muscular, I still look great, but like I just knew that my body had looked much better. I had felt much stronger. And so like I didn't really feel like myself, right? Like I thrive in a challenging environment. I thrive whenever I am just absolutely challenged to the core and to the bone, like you've seen that, right? Like what more can I do, Trevor? Like, okay, we'll do these ab wheel rollouts every single day. So, okay, I will do these ab wheel rollouts every single day. Like, I want to be challenged in a way that's going to, I don't know, that level of hyper focus. The more challenged I am, the better I get. And so, truly, I had been, just like I knew I wanted to make some type of change because I realized I didn't feel like myself and just I wanted to make a change. I needed to do something hard. And so that's really where I kind of got my mindset. I was like, okay, I need to do something hard again, but what can I trust myself to do? And I think trust myself is like the key word here because I didn't want to go on a deep dive with drugs. I didn't want to go on a deep dive with, like food and stuff like that because I do have, just like I didn't really, I wasn't a big fan of, like performance enhancing drugs. Like it made me feel a little bit, not my best self. And then I have had a little bit of a history with like almost disordered eating, right? So I was a little unsure about the bodybuilding, like originally before anybody approached me, but it's something like you said, I've always been fascinated by. Like that's how I started all of this was just I fell in love with like I read the bodybuilding magazines, right? Like I just found those and I was like, oh, I can do this exercise and get jacked arms. Like I'm gonna do that. I would read it and I'd apply it. It's been if I have a protocol, I will implement whatever the plan is. Like I'm a really good athlete, right? But I think like that's how it always kind of started for me was the bodybuilding, right? And then somebody at the gym prodded me and was like, oh, you're really strong for a girl. And so I took that personally and decided to go on this quest to be the best in the world. Check. So then, what's next, right? Like, I feel like this was always going to be something for me that was like, I've always wanted to do a show, but I'd never had the courage to like, because I knew I did have a history of like disordered eating and I knew I did have issues with body image, body dysmorphia. So doesn't this sound like a really, really triggering situation to throw yourself into? Okay, challenge accepted, right? Like, what else would I choose to do, right? Like me, the person that is one extreme to the other, which I'm trying to work on navigating, right? Like I'm trying to work on, that relationship with myself and to recognize that it doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? But this bodybuilding journey kind of thing is one of the big things that has made me realize that once again, right? That it doesn't have to be all or nothing, but we'll circle back, right? So I had this idea in my mind. I had this idea that I wanted to do a show. And so like I kind of looked around and I knew there was a big bodybuilding scene here in Austin. And so I picked this show in my mind. It was November the 5th. And I was like, okay, that's going to be tentatively when I would like, if I was going to do this, I didn't commit to it yet. I just, in my mind, if I was going to do this, plan to do it on this date so I can play my travel out and make this work, make it make sense, right? And I promise you, like not a week later or something, I was approached in the gym by Justin Mahaley, who is now my coach and everything. And just, he was like, he has that raspy voice. If anybody's seen him in my videos or anything like that, you just can't even hardly understand what he's saying, right? Like he's a funny guy. I love the guy. But he came up to me and I have to say it in his voice for dramatic effect. But he said, give me 6 months and I'll make you a women's physique pro. And that was just the level of like, how I am. That was just the level of like cockiness and arrogance, like that kind of approach of like, I know I can do this and I know that you've got what it takes. Like, that I was like, okay, what time do you want me to show up tomorrow? Literally, that was what I said. I was like, okay, what time do you want me to show up tomorrow? And he was like, 10:30. So I was there at 10:30. So like from that point on, once that statement was said, and once I showed up, and once I was like, okay, what do you need me to do? I decided on that day that I was going to make this work and I was going to figure it out, because I knew I needed to do something hard for myself. And I knew that this was going to be a challenge in so many ways that honestly, I've never even talked about with anyone. So this is kind of like a really like cool conversation, right? Or at least me just having my TED talk and you're listening. But so there was a lot involved here of just, I knew that if I was given a plan, I'd execute in terms of the diet, right? Like it wasn't so much of me counting and things like that. I had very specific, you eat 105 grams of ground beef, da, 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 da. So it wasn't that I had it was eat this every single day, eat this at this time every single day. And I mean, I could handle that. And I could handle, if I have a plan, I know how to approach, and I do the same thing like I'm good with a routine like that, right? So the prep and everything was hard, but it was manageable. And I just kept pushing. And like if the cardio got upped, I would say, yes, sir. And if the carbs got taken down, I would say, yes, sir. If I was told to do something, if I was told to eat dirt, I would say, what kind of dirt? You know how that is. Like you've seen me in like the same way that I approach powerlifting, like, and lived with you. Like I didn't eat off plan. I did the same thing, right? So the mindset for competitive powerlifting, the mindset for becoming a bodybuilder, the mindset for pretty much, I think, in a lot of ways, wanting success or setting yourself up for success, it looks very similar no matter what the end result is or what the goal is, right? Like you just kind of set the systems in place that how you need to operate, right? And this was a super hyper specific kind of, like doing the fasted cardio, which I still do every single day, like taking I felt like you, like I still do like my supplements. I have all my supplements now just because like, honestly, this was probably the best my gut health when I was bodybuilding, the best my gut health had ever been. I mean, partially is because, I'm eating nothing, right? But I was eating my vegetables. I was taking all my probiotics. I mean, just like by elimination, right? Just, I mean, not eating much, but my gut was so healthy. I learned a ton. I learned a ton through the process, and I learned a ton about myself, right? Just like
skin too. The healthier your gut, the healthier your skin gets. And some people actually like, oh, it's from the PEDs. Like, no, it's from your gut health.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, and I've struggled with my skin a ton, right? And so it's like that for me, I noticed that once when I was in prep and just like my gut health, the better my gut health got, my skin was clear. And like, even when I was taking higher amounts of drugs towards the end of the prep, like my skin was still very, very clear. And honestly, even on the reverse, I'd say the reverse is the hardest part. And nobody really told me this, or like, like I had no idea this entire time what to expect, right? Because this is all new for me. And I love Justin. He's a great coach. He is wonderful, but he works with like pros, right? Like he works with people that are like elite level competitors. And this was like my first day, right? So like I have the elite level mindset, but I don't have I don't know what I'm doing here, right? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's still definitely some, experiences to be had and everything. But so like on the opposite end, the reverse part, that's where I'll say that's where the disordered eating and stuff and whatnot comes into play, the body dysmorphia, all of those things that like I've struggled with previously on the back end of this. Oh my God. Woo, it was intense. It was an intense in a way that I really didn't expect, because I think that as coaches, and especially as people that, work with people on their nutrition, on their body image, that we are, reinforcing these people and making sure that, people are like able to manage themselves, in a way that's healthy for them. We feel like we're almost immune to it, right? Like, and I feel like you feel the same. In a way, we feel like we're immune to it, right? We know about all of it. And we know, oh, that's not going to be me. I was talking the whole time. I was so mad. I was like, I'm so little. I'm so little. I'm pressed dumbbells heavier than what I am. I was so mad. Like honestly, the whole prep, I was so mad because I was so small. I was like, I ended up on stage at 119 pounds, and I have not been 119 pounds since before middle school. You know what I'm saying? Like that was.
Oh,
like,
that very well.
That was.
I told you that's the first 81 cut. I was like shit, I haven't weighed this since middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that was a lot for me. I was like, I can't wait to get big. I can't wait to feel strong. I was like, this is stupid. Not really, but like mentally, that was where I was at, right? But then when you see those scale going up and like the way that you've looked and like I have never in my life looked like that. I've struggled with my weight my whole life and like just like not in a dramatic way, but just like in an ebb and flow, right? Ebb and flow. And just I definitely stay on the heavier side. I think my body likes to stay around like just, I'm teapot, short and stout. I have never looked the way I looked or had that type of vascularity. And so watching it before your eyes just like dissipate is so disheartening. Like, and like, I was like, oh my God, literally, I have worked so hard for this. And there it goes.
So
But,
if three awesome key takeaways that I
mhm,
understand is like
uh-huh.
without you're going nowhere. Because you said
Yep.
you accomplished a goal and you lost your why. It's like, well, where am I going? So that was scary. So you have to establish a why.
Hmm.
Two, put yourself in situations where you have to do the hard work. It's not
Yep.
optional. It's not you choose to. You get to, yes, but you put yourself in a situation where you gave yourself a timeline. You signed up for a meet before you knew what the hell you were doing. You put yourself in a situation where you had to just shut up, listen, learn, and do the hard work.
Hmm.
And the third thing is realizing you're not always going to be at your best. We talked about this a lot during prep, whether it be missed lifts in training, but we'd be lifting 30, 40, 50 pounds more on the platform because that's when we peaked
Hmm.
for. And people will bad day so personally in any sport, bodybuilding or powerlifting, like, oh, I had a shitty workout, my life's over. It's like you had one shitty workout. You probably work out 5 times a week, 4 times a week. That's literally like less than 20% of the problem. So,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
various reasons as to why, you didn't eat, you didn't sleep, you didn't hydrate, whatever, it's not like the end of the world. So those are 3 huge takeaways for people to understand is first, you got to have your why.
Hmm.
You have to understand going somewhere why you want to, because you're not going to get there unless it's your why. Putting yourself in a situation where you had to do the hard work and a support system with Jim, who's making sure that you knew what you had to do to get there, because like you said, it was new for you. You just had to
Hmm.
follow the program and listen and trust, which he was like, hey, I can do this for you if you want. And you're like, yes, that's my why. I want to. And you put that timeline on there. And then third, understanding that those discrepancies are going to change. Like you said, you loved how you look when you were stage ready. Coming from the reverse of that, I was like, well, where did it all go?
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, but like it's all a learning. It's all a learning experience too. And I think just like you can always like I don't know lessons that you didn't even think you like were going to learn. I think those are the most valuable ones, right? And just like in recognizing, just like sometimes I think as coaches or as elite level athletes or whatever, we think we're immune to a lot of things, or we think, oh well, I would react differently in this situation. Oh well, like sometimes I think it's like helpful, like you said, to like sit in the hard place and like recognize what side you or like what side you're at, where you're at, like do a kind of check in with yourself and just I don't know. It's always nice to do something hard to know you got that dog in you still, but maybe there's some different ways that what I also brought that back around to connect to was like it doesn't always have to be to the extreme, right? To know that you have the ability at any moment in time you can push the gas, you can pull back on the brakes, like you said with any session, like when you have a bad session. Okay, well, you're probably training 5 days a week. Like you haven't had a bad session in so long. That's why you're mad that you had a bad session. Like it's about just really consistently loving what you do. Like that is, that's the why, right? Why do we train? Why do we push ourselves? Why are we in the gym? What is this, right? I think that's the reason why just coaching as a whole it looks a lot different with like different programs, different techniques, and different things in that nature. Like, you can have sports specific stuff. You can have, if you're peaking for a meet, if you're peaking for a bodybuilding show, right? But like all the things is like it relates back to that person's why. Like, why are they in the gym? What are they showing up for, right? And so, like, all of those variables, everything can be shifted and changed. The plan can be changed, like all of the variables. Okay, I shifted everything so I could put like 60 minutes of fasted cardio at the forefront of my day, right? You can always adjust anything as needed and anything is possible. You just find someone that has already done it before you, ask them how to do it, like get that mentorship, learn from somebody, hire a coach and just be able to follow a plan and trust yourself.
I had a similar situation where, I decided to cut down to 81 11 days before the shutdown, and I wasn't even close. I'd been living in the hotel with Titus, and I
Yeah.
actually came 230, and I was like, I got to like 206. I'm like, I think I could make it. And I told, my girlfriend at the time, because she was going to watch me cut, I'm like, you're going to want me to quit this before I quit this. And she's like, what? I'm like, you're going to watch me cut, and you're going to want me to quit this before I quit this. And, 2/3 of the way through it, she looked at me, she's like, why are you doing this? And my answer was really simple. It was just because most people won't. That was my heart. It's because most people won't is why I do this. And I don't power lift to see how strong I am. I know how freaking strong I am. I can find out in the gym. I power lift to see what I can live through and put up with, because that's what keeps my edge. That's what keeps the dark side going, is knowing I can survive through anything makes the rest of life so much easier for me when you can live through the worst that you put yourself through by choice.
Mm-hmm.
So when that was my simple answer, and it was the same answer I gave to Lisa, when she would watch me cut the 81, why are you doing this? It was always because other people won't. And that was my why. My why was to never accept mediocrity from myself and to always push myself more than other people expected me to, because that's who I want to be. I want to be somebody who achieves, not somebody who watches. I want to live the dream, not watch somebody else's dream. And I love facilitating other people's dreams, but it's always been that way for me, as that's my why, is being, and I don't want to use the word hard enough because it's like a David Goggins thing, but being hard enough to go through those moments by choice, because quitting is an option that everyone can take, but being hard enough to go through those moments by choice is what defines me to myself. It's what makes me to myself. It's what gives me my drive. Because the second I'm like, I don't want to put myself through that, I'm giving up on me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I look.
I love that, and I think that's one thing that like you and I both like really connect with on that. Just like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna figure it out, and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna beat you on your best day, because I know like I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna do my best, and it's gonna be better than what anybody's ever seen, right? It's just like, I don't know, like, and that you'll push yourself to get there, even if it doesn't wind up on that day. Like, I know I'm going to do it, and it's like, to be willing to suffer, to be willing to endure the pain, or to be willing to cut out carbs for 9 weeks and do 2 hours of cardio every single day because you want to look good in a sparkly bikini, and you ain't never worn a two-piece bathing suit in your entire life, but you're going to stand on a stage in a two-piece bikini and act like you know what you're doing and not have had a carb in your system for 9 weeks. And guess what? You're going to do that. You want to know why? You're going to suffer, because you're going to show other people that it can be done. And like, it doesn't have anything to do with the weight that's on the bar. It doesn't have anything to do with the results that are on the stage. It has to do with showing people that it can be done. Yes. For me, I think the reason why I like wanted to do something hard again, and do something hard that was like hard on so many levels, like not just the dieting part, but like the posing part, that's a whole different art form, and I can't move like that. Like the whole, like, there's so many aspects of this. It's like, but to be willing to try something new, to be willing to get like really uncomfortable with yourself, and just like, that's what it's all about, right? And I think you and me, like, people that are coaches, people that are leaders, but people that are willing to push themselves to that point and just show people that it can be done. I think one reason why people like watching me train, and even if it's bodybuilding, right? I think people like watching me train, and I used to kind of think this, like, I didn't know how to take this, right? But people like watching me train because rep one is hard. Like, rep one is hard, but I still crank out 15, and you thought I was done after the second one. And then people realize that, like, that's hard. Like, that is how far I can push this. And because people's heart is relative, right? Like, people think like, oh, this is the level of exhaustion. This is so hard. Ow, I feel a burn. But then you see somebody else that's going to a level that is just like, there's so much of a range that you didn't even know existed, right? And so for me, like, to be able to do that and to show people that it can be done, that is my like hope. That's my why. My why, and my like, it's not because I don't necessarily want to accept mediocrity of myself. I am not mediocre, and I will never be mediocre. There's no doubt about it, right? There's just not even an option for that. But it's just to remind people that just anything is possible. Anything can be done. Like, that was the dream all of this was based off of, was just like, I looked one day and said, that can be done, and I can do it. And I did, right? And just like, that's it. That's it.
I remember talking about this in car rides down to Miami to go squat at Barbara Bender's, and I always talk about the scene from The Edge with Anthony Hopkins. Yeah. If one man can do it, another man can do it, and people forget that. The second someone sees someone do something, like, okay, if it's possible and achievable by a human, I can do it too if I'm doing the work. And I always love the mindset. You hear stories like, becoming successful and wealthy is hard work. Being poor is a hard life. You choose your hard kind of mentality, and it truly is that. The rep one being hard, but still going for 14, 15 just shows you chose your heart, you chose your mentality, and you were like, I can keep going, so I will. And a lot of people who do ultra endurance races, that's what they're challenging, because, you can only condition so much, but there's
where it's the mental fortitude is when your legs are going numb and you're peeing yourself and your body's going crazy and your mind wants to quit, you keep going, and that is a mental mindset. The entirety of like David Blaine's magic is not necessarily magic, is a lot of it's just pain tolerance. He'll put himself in, he'll hang out in certain things, he'll fast for like a month. He just does things that are odd to other humans that is like normal to him because his mindset is, I cannot fail. He has such an abundance mindset. He's like, I cannot fail. And there's been some where he has, but he still doesn't have failure. And that's that. People always ask me like, what was different about Stacy? It wasn't her athletic ability. It wasn't her form. You know, we had to work on all of that. It was her mindset. You know, from day one, there was a mindset of, I cannot fail. And I remember even showing up at a meet. She's like, you put it on the bar and I will move it. And I would look at her sometimes like, that's not going to be the case.
You remember, do you remember fighting, like low-key fighting at that meet in November? And like, you were like, let's just break 1400. And I was like, just not what I came here. But I was like, okay.
Hadn't told me the whole goal yet. That was the day I found out. And that's actually in the article as well. I hadn't found out the whole goal yet. You hadn't told me the grandfather story yet. You just was like, I want to push my total. I want to break the world records again. I'm like, okay. And then, so people who don't know, it'll come out in the article. Stacy breaks the all-time world record squat in that meet and ties the all-time full power bench. We thought we broke the bench, but we didn't realize someone did bench only and actually had a 5 pounds higher. So we ended up tying the full power bench thing. And then I had wanted 548 for the last deadlift or somewhere around there. And you're like, I want 562. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, I don't think that's going up. And you're like, I want 562. I'm like, I know you can pull 548. Let's go, 8 for 9. Let's secure this number. Let's get this total. And you're like, you're arguing with me. And I put it in there first. And I'm like, you know what? She's really got conviction that she can pull this. I'm going to let her shoot. Fuck, we have to lose. We already got the squat record. We already got the bench record. We got the total record at this point anyways. I'm like, we got nothing to lose. We take the total record. So I put the 562 on. And then Stacy misses it like 1 inch, 2 inches from lockout, which had become, kind of a commonplace for her. There was one belief that Stacy did have that we had to circumvent for the XPC, and that was that Stacy can't make a third attempt deadlift. Because you yourself would say that because that's what your coach at the time before me had said to you, that you can't make a third attempt deadlift. So that became a belief system. So we came up with done in 8, and that was the entire training system. We're taking this Wilks record in 8 attempts only, which is wild.
Yep.
But we did it. We jumped right to the number she needed on her second attempt deadlift because
you didn't want to either. Low-key, you didn't want to either. You were like, I don't know. And I was like, okay, if I smoke 500, let me do it. But I was like, okay.
We opened at 5. I'm like, if you fucking smoke this, you can put it on the bar. And she smoked 500. Now, mind you, she had missed 480 3 weeks prior to that in the gym.
Like 480. It was at least 485 or something, but whatever.
5 was the rage pull day. That was the rage pull day where Stacy
remember.
Walked around my neighborhood, came back 20 minutes later, and rage pulled 495, ugly as fuck. And so we had the balls to open at 500 because we knew she could do it. Her back was hurting in prep. It was just one of those things, and she was trying to diet down a little bit to make weight. So once she was full and recovered.
A little bit. My dog says a little bit. I was like 170 in training, and I made it down to 148. And I remember I had to cut carbs like 2.5 weeks out or something. I was like, Trevor, the scale is not moving. Trevor, the scale, you're not tripping? And you're like, no, I'm not tripping. And I was like, missed that pool. And I was like, oh yeah, well, I still just got to lose 15 pounds and pull 500 more.
Weight cuts and the amount of time I listen to Can't Be Shook in the garage just to lift, I literally can't be shook at that point.
Yeah, true.
I know you're not going to quit the cut. You're going to make it.
No, because I was like, okay, well, I've done all the hard part now. It's just like, oh, so what? So I am fully prepared to hit all these numbers, and like, I'm going to, like, I can't make weight. Psych, I'm going to cut my hair off. I'm going to cut off a toe. I don't even need one. I was going to make weight one way or another. That was, I mean, that cut was, that was one of those, I'm going to go further than you. And like, I've got, like, I did.
What people don't know is not only did Stacy have to cut all that weight, the first gym we went to, which was freaking packed, you couldn't hear anything, you couldn't see anything, their sauna didn't work. And I had no idea that Stacy had like Ubered and left to go find another gym because I couldn't hear my phone, I couldn't see anything. We're in there talking to people, having fun. I'm thinking Stacy's like dying in the steam room downstairs, only to find out the steam room doesn't work, they can't fix it. So she went out to find like an LA Fitness to go cut weight at by herself, and we didn't even know where she was because we're texting her, she's not answering us because she's dying in the sauna.
Well, and I was like, I've got to start now. Like, I have to start now, and like, I need to go ahead and start. So I was like, just got there and camped out until the job was done. And
but the mindset, she made weight, she hydrated, got back up, and obviously a tremendous performance. The best performance at the time of the all-time, which is pretty wild. Now let's talk about how your coaching business has changed, because initially when you lived with me, which by the way was the greatest time of my life, I had my best friend live with me for like 7 weeks. It was the coolest thing. We got up every day, we talked shit every day, and we worked out every day, and we ate every day. It was literally like,
and we worked every day too. I
Stacey,
love body doubling. Oh.
became known as my lesbian wife, and Stacy also the most masculine homosexual she's ever met in her life.
True. This is true.
She's like, "You sure you're not gay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure." But that was like the coolest time. But I remember you were really just growing as a coach at that time, figuring things out, trying to figure out where your identity was, and you wanted to work with absolute beginners at the time and build them up. Now, I know now you have some international elite athletes that you work with at this point. You've gone beyond that starting stage as a coach to a full-on coach who works with many facets of lifters. So let's talk about the evolution of your coaching, of where you started from your degree, what you learned when you live with me, and how you transfer everything you've learned from bodybuilding over to your clients now.
All right, ready, break. So I originally started out as just like a personal trainer, right? A group fitness kind of coach or whatever, just the usual, right? And then that kind of evolved into I like to work with like athletes. I really like to work with like strength and conditioning, like kind of style stuff. I was strength and conditioning coach, like I'm an assistant coach at Darlington High School for a little bit with the softball team. So I really like the kind of athletic performance aspect. So I kind of started out like just I wanted more athletes, but then also I kind of ended up taking in the kind of like the broken toys, right? Just like the people that kind of didn't fit in the area, right? That just were, they didn't want to just, the women didn't want to just lose weight. And then, the guys just like wanted to get stronger, but they didn't necessarily know what to do kind of thing. So just, the people that didn't really necessarily fit in. And so I'd start with them and we'd work on like just like strength training, right? So like personal trainer kind of really leaned into like the specialized, just like strength kind of, sports and everything. But so a lot of those then were beginners, right? Like, because I just got them fresh, right? I got them fresh and I could build them myself. And so I really enjoyed that. And then at that time when I was living with you, I kept my roster really small, right? Like very intentionally, because like I wasn't trying to make money. Like I was trying to be the best powerlifter in the world. So the way I managed my stress was in one way to cap my roster. I think I had like 20 athletes. I mean, like I had enough athletes to pay my bills. I was not trying to make money. I was not trying to make this a living. My one entire focus was, lifting, right? So I just kept my roster. And so like working with those beginners, like the beginning, maybe say like 20 or whatever, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. It was just like, just really, really just, I developed a ton of good relationships with people and stuff too, right? And so just from those original, then it's, I branched off a little bit, obviously. Just after I got done competing, my main focus was to grow as a coach. So I kind of expanded, just, I don't only coach strength athletes, right? I coach just lifestyle clients as well. People that just want to, hey, maybe I want to follow like a barbell or like strength kind of, lifting, but I don't have any desire to compete. Do you still work? Yes, absolutely. Like, and I do have like several strongman athletes now too. I'm always trying to continue to learn and to continue to like kind of advance like my thoughts and like my just everything that I'm learning. I want to continue to be learning. Like you're going to learn some weird stuff, right? To do things differently. I always want to be like learning, right? And so some of my athletes decided, hey, I want to try strongman, but I want you to coach me. And I'm like, well, that this is not my forte, but I've dove in with like, Josh Bryant, like some of the tactical strength and conditioning kind of like specializations there are. And so like learning through that, like new specializations, new certifications. But so I've expanded my roster a little bit to just, I accept anybody who's really willing to work, right? And if we're a good fit, right? Because I think coaching sometimes just like it's dependent on the person, right? It's like some people want this type of specific coaching. Some people just want really critical feedback. They don't want to have like any type of relationship, like it's based on what a person wants. And so I'm willing to work with athletes and clients of all different, beginners, intermediates, advanced. Most of the advanced lifters that I have, most of them, I have some that came to me as freaks, right? But like several of the ones that I have, maybe say came to me as like intermediate level and we've kind of worked our way up. I do have some freaks that just came to me and we've continued to build from that. So I can't take credit. Like my boy Colton, he was a hoss before he, I ever set foot in my door, but just, I have a wide range of athletes. And I think that's still kind of cool because I have on the same, like my training company team, I have all-time world record holders, and then I have just people that are trying to just take steps to their fitness journey and just like learn how to barbell squat. And it's kind of fun for me because like I think a lot of people kind of like pigeonhole themselves and like I am only an elite coach or I am only a beginner's coach. And maybe I'm missing the market or maybe I'm missing like a little bit here, right? But just like I think it's so much fun and it keeps me sharp as a coach to make sure that the way I'm communicating is, you know, really simplified and really digestible because I want to be able to still coach beginners, coach intermediates, and coach, you know, like all the top level lifters because I think it's possible that I can have a beginner lifter that becomes an elite level lifter through just the years and just like, you know, time spent under the bar. So I
Tasha,
have no idea if that was that was a real wraparound story.
3 years?
What's that?
Natasha's been with you what, 3 years? Almost?
I think so. Close to it, I'm pretty sure.
And she's one who's now, you know, approaching that highest level possible. She's pretty damn close to a 500 deadlift, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, she's been knocking on a 500 deadlift for like honestly a minute now, and I like this next upcoming meet that we're doing in Florida, she's gonna get it, and her squats finally taking off. Like you know, and just like it's super exciting for me, and just so I love being a part of people's journey because like in Latasha's instance, like something just one day you say a different kind of cueing mechanism, or you say something that just clicks. Like you might have been trying to figure out what it is to say to them to fix the same problem for 3 years, right? But then one day you say something different and it clicks. And then her squat, the thing that she was the least confident in, it's gone from like 315 to she just squatted a PR at 375. And like that's not even like, you know, like that's not an exaggeration. That's just one day something clicks. And so to be able to be a coach and to be alongside like your lifters like that just you get to see the good happen, right? Because I'm totally on a different tangent, but it's like sometimes you plant the seeds and like
because you said you might be missing the market. You're not missing on the market. The market's missing out on you because you're doing what you enjoy, and that passion carries over to your clients, and that's why they come to you because the energy, the excitement is there.
And that's the whole thing that I like love, like all of it. All of it is just, I mean, like coaching, I don't think it's not just programming. It's not just writing out lists. It's that process, right? Most of the people that start with me or like start coaching with me, like they've been with me for this is a relationship now. Like we're in it together because like it's just about building that, right? And I think sometimes you plant the seeds as a coach and you don't necessarily, it takes time, right? It takes time for strength to build. But so when people actually stay with you and like you see those seeds just kind of grow and like, you know, like Trisha, I mean, like, you know, like just starting with Trisha from so long ago and then now looking at her and I'm just like, look at my baby, she's all grown up. Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, wow, it's so cool because it like, once again, we're going back to that whole be done. You know, and like when you see other people that like maybe your influence has shined upon and you see them doing it and then that you know that their influence is like that's the whole point of all of this, right? Like at least to me, right? That's my why is to change the world, right? To show everyone that it can be done.
The lineage that expresses exactly what you're talking about, of the energy, the passion, and the growth is like, you know, Trisha started with you as a beginner and she got to a certain level, and then she came to me and she got to another level, and then she started coaching at that level as well. She coaches some pretty high level lifters. She's got a lifter going into the American Pro. She's got a bunch of international totals, and now she has lifters under her who also coach. And then you can look at like Amy, who started with you as a beginner and came over. And now Amy's in this whole mindset, like, I can be better as a human all around. And she's like posting motivational stuff, quotes, reminding people it takes time, process.
Oh, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I've been seeing everything. I mean, like, honestly, I wore this today. This is Amy's anti-ego shirt. I wore that to rip out our girl. Amy was one of my clients. Amy was one of my clients that was when some of my very original clients. And she was such a hard worker. She was an absolute, probably one of my favorite lifters to coach, truly. Just, I mean, there was no stone left unturned. I could write anything and I knew it would be done. She would figure it out. She would make a way. And just, there got to be a point where I just knew that I wasn't able to apply the technical changes and like the technique stuff that she needed for her deadlift. I knew that what I was communicating, it wasn't enough. Right. And so I wanted her to work with Trevor, who is the best. He's a sumo deadlift king, right? The deadlift whisperer, right? Who better than somebody I trusted that I wanted my athlete to succeed? So I wanted her to go with someone where I knew that like I could trust you. I knew that you would take good care of her. And to see her, I think, double 500.
Go 1 for 2.
Oh my God. I was like, In my heart, just like I was like, dang, not even for, a single, like for a dub. I was like that because that was something that, like, she had been chasing for so long. That to me, that's what real coaching is, right? Like, and it doesn't even matter who they belong to or who, whose roster or whatever, who you're paying money to. Like, nah, if I coach you, if I have ever coached you, you're my girl, you're my dog, like you're my homie, and I want to see you win. And so, like, that's what I think just the value of real coaching, because people don't really realize that, like, why would you pay a coach for something, especially like being a coach? Like, why would you pay a coach if you're a coach? Well, it's because, like, having somebody to believe in you sometimes, I don't know, it kind of hits.
It's to get out of your own head. It's to learn more
Mhm.
process. It's to try different things. I've had 6 different powerlifting coaches. Despite the level I coach at, I've had 6 different powerlifting coaches, 3 different nutrition coaches. And it's always, I want to learn their systems, their ways, and I want to understand them so I can apply them to not only myself, but to other people who might benefit from them, which is why I'm versatile. I've never had like the one coach or the one way.
Mhm.
And that's one of the I have multiple videos on many different ways and many different techniques on how to lift. Even today's video was 2 different deadlift positions from the same stance, conventional, the how and the why and the who. And, I have like 300 tutorial educational videos up there. Stacy's had to film a couple of them in my garage back before there was IG Reels, and you couldn't.
We were on this before this was a thing. Like, before this was a thing, I'd be like, hey, Trevor, let's do one of those things. Like, let's do the thing. And he's like, okay.
Middle of the workout, out of breath, one take, let's go, 60 seconds. And Stacy'd be like, wow, you finished in 59 seconds. I'm like,
That's a PR. I think one of the other questions you have for me that I totally just danced all the way around, but like applying bodybuilding to powerlifting and just to coaching in general, honestly, I will say I started like my check-in system that I have with my athletes now much more detailed, right? Like, I want to know about like your digestion and stuff too, because I think we talked about this a little bit way earlier, right? It was just how much your digestion actually plays a role into everything, right? Just like your gut biome and just, your recovery. Just like, and you can say, oh, well, I'm not stressed, right? But like, I'll say I'm not stressed. Or I'll say, oh, yeah, I'm fine, but I'm like tweaking out, right? Because you say these things, or maybe you report these things, or underreport these things. And so, like, I think really just, having better systems of like feedback, not necessarily just like bar speed or just like how the lifts look, but actually, like, what's your energy scale? Like, what's your stress look like? Just different check-in systems, and just really like focusing on, I like, I hate to like hyper focus on like the food, right? Because I definitely have a whole relationship, and a range of emotions I feel about food, but just how the food can be used best, like towards your performance, towards like, like your recovery and everything. That was one thing that when I was working with Justin and stuff, and just now working with Justin and just like mentoring under him and just like learning a lot, like in terms of how all of like the nutrients play roles into like the fat loss, into everything else. It's just like, it's really interesting, right? And you think you know a lot, and then you can just always dive in deeper and deeper. So it's like been a really interesting, just I've been learning a lot, right? Like, I was an athlete in that realm, and now I'm trying to be almost like a student, right? I'm learning from Justin, and I'm learning from the bodybuilding community. Has actually been super cool. So like, I've been able to kind of like extract information and just figure out how I can take a lot of the nutrients and systems and timing and everything else and apply it to like my power lifters, or like my strength athletes, or just the general lifestyle clients, because all of it all comes back together. It's just different, different filters that we put on like everything else, right?
So going on that, you mentioned you have supplements out and you really focus on digestive health. What supplements or substances are you adding? I said substances because I know like some people will do like injectable glutathione, L-carnitine, stuff like that to improve.
L-carnitine, the glutathione has been really good for recovery. I still take my olive oregano at night,
Same.
just so you know, because you put me on that. You put me on that, and I have put so many other people on that. That was like, share this. This is drop this. This will be a little snippet that we can save. Talk about olive oregano.
It's a game changer. It's a natural antifungal and so an antibiotic kind of thing. So you can take that and boost your immune system tremendously so you don't get sick. Like I think I've had 2 colds in the last 3 years, and that's it, which is not bad considering I fly somewhere every month.
Yeah.
On a plane.
And probably like, I always am flying and stuff, but like, I've gotten maybe like sick, maybe once or twice. Like, I really don't get sick. The only bad thing is maybe sometimes I'll get like little burps. It's kind of like fish oil, almost like the olive oregano burps. It's kind of gross. But
that's why we take before bed, because when you wake up in the morning, it's remember when I brought it out, you're like, what is that? I'm like, it's oil oregano. You're like, whoa.
I was like, oh, yikes. And then like NAD, just I'm taking a green supplement. I'm taking my probiotics, magnesium. I'm taking a ton of magnesium, like glycinate during the day, and then different form theanate. Yes, and at nighttime. So like I didn't know how that like valuable magnesium was. That's something that like I felt like was very helpful.
We only recover when our body is calm.
Yeah.
And we're out of the sympathetic into the parasympathetic, and magnesium has that action of lowering blood pressure, calming your system. So I take it post-workout. I take the glycinate. I take like ZMA plus more glycinate before bed to calm my mind, to calm my body. Phenomenal stuff. All right.
I said that was a game changer, and like that was really, I said, like, so I still keep that in rotation, but I mean I've got all of the, and the ZMAs and stuff, some ashwagandha stuff. Because I've been trying to like decrease my caffeine intake, because I've been on a caffeine bender probably since 2014 maybe. So
phenomenon. Stacy dated a lot of white girls, and people were like, white girls? And she'd pull out a white Monster can.
Okay, so the peak level of when I knew I had a white girl problem was I was at a meet, and I love it. It's amazing. I was at a meet, and I had 4 people bring me white Monsters, and I'm not gonna say no. Of course. Oh my God, thank you so much. Oh my God. So I'm just like,
so
for it, I was like, I don't feel anything. I should lower my caffeine.
I don't know. The bag where the incident went down. But you remember how many people were bringing me and you energy drinks? I think I had 5 throughout the day. Because I couldn't say no.
PTSD on me, Trevor, man. You be putting me in all kinds of situations. You know what, though? The year before that, I think I had 2 people that shipped me for like Christmas or something a case of White Girls. And I was like, oh my God, did I get sponsored by Monster and nobody told me? And then I was like, oh no, people just love me? Okay, cool. So if y'all want to ship me cases of White Monsters, I have no problem with that. I accept that in forms of payment. Yes, so absolutely. But I have been working on dropping my caffeine intake. Because Justin definitely did. I told on myself. I was like, I really think I wrote it down in my check-in, right? I was like, one thing I think I could, and it's like, I don't know, I kind of like having, it trips me out a little bit because I definitely am body dysmorphic, right? I'm like, oh man, I still look the same, or I still don't look how I want. But when I do a check-in, I think there's the accountability of like, okay, I know that I need to change this. I was like, okay, my caffeine intake is too high. I'm aware, so I'm probably more parasympathetic. So that might be why I'm not, like, I was aware because like, my weight wasn't dropping, but like I was doing the things, and he was like, oh yeah, we need to drop this. And I was like, okay. So I told him myself, and I've been being pretty good.
You'd be surprised to know I dropped mine as well, because I was at a point where I was taking 600 pre-workout, another 300 after, just for fun and energy drinks. So I've dropped it down to a max of 500 a day.
Okay.
Which is 200 before workout, and like whatever energy drink. Sometimes it's only 400. So the 2 p.m. energy drink is still a habit, but I've dropped it down because now I have some that are 200, some that are 300. But that's a good thing to do, because you start to the hip TFL tear was like a wake-up call that I'm living on caffeine a little bit, and it's pushing me beyond what my actual fatigue levels were. So I was like, all right, I gotta change lifestyle a little bit, because that shouldn't have happened. But those are good, valuable, and hard lessons. So we're healthier, we're happier, we're feeling good. Stacy is a connoisseur of books like I am, especially personal development. And I ask everyone about a book that has impacted them, that they feel would like impact other people. So what's the book right now or past that you feel like generally everyone at some point should pick up and read?
Relentless by Tim Grover.
Cleaners.
Still.
Yeah.
That and Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits by James Clear I actually read when I was at your house, whenever I was training. And I've reread it since probably 3 times. But Relentless, if you're an athlete and there's that gear, like you need that gear, or you need to find like, you need to like really just kind of dig deep. Relentless by Tim Grover, I think, is just like a really good book for that. And then if you just need to honestly like kind of just evaluate where you're at, what habits you're creating, what habits you're forming, what systems you have in place in terms of like, if you want to make a change, right? Like if you want to make any type of change in your life, if you like implementing fasted cardio, just say this, for example, like my coach told me, okay, you go from, I had 0 cardio per day, right? To, okay, now I'm doing 6 days a week of, fasted cardio. Now I'm going to have to implement different systems in place to make sure that this makes sense for this new habit I'm trying to develop and create, right? So Atomic Habits by James Clear really breaks down just a lot about, like, it just makes it really simple. Like, both of those are really simple, easy reads. And so I think sometimes people get, like overwhelmed by like big, thick books or stuff that's, a ton of like really advanced verbiage. But these books are really easy to read. And so I think just like really easily to digest and like can really have a big impact on your mindset and just how you really engage with the world. So check out both of those two.
Atomic Habits is one of the most underrated books in the world because he goes into such great detail on how such small, minute changes can impact the end result. And we get that a lot in our industry where there's like, oh, there was a negligible difference, so it doesn't matter. It's like, wait, there's a compounding effect that still happens. It might have made a 1% difference, but if you add that 1% difference every day, it's 347% difference by the end of the year. It changes things dramatically because of a compounding effect over time.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Israetel has talked about that. Like, people was like, oh, it only makes a 10-pound difference. Well, a 10-pound difference on a 600-pound squat is now a 611 squat, or a 311 bench versus a 300 bench. And a 10-pound difference makes a difference. And then 10 pounds compounded over every rep you do, over the training effect, that becomes a 30-pound difference by the end of the year. And people forget those small, minute micro habits and micro results are game changing for a lot of people. A baseball player, they can all throw the ball at the same velocity, but it's how they throw the ball, Mm-hmm. That's what really changes things. Someone's curveball curves half-inch more to the left, someone's missing it. That's just how it works.
I mean, and we discount it in terms of like what you said, oh, that's just a negligible difference, right? But I still remember like 1 pound PRs, right? Like that took 3 years, right? So it's like the amount of improvement that I was making in these 3 years was so minute that I couldn't see it, that I couldn't feel it. But then eventually it resulted in the 1 pound PR, and then it resulted in the 1 pound PR, and the 1 pounds and 1 pounds, it eventually leads to more and more, right? So we want to say like, oh, well, that was too much work for not enough outcome. But like most of the time, like it doesn't even have to be like that, right? Like most of the time, if you continue to, you're going to have ebbs and flows. Like there might be some points where it's just little, but then it might get big, right? Because I would love to say that everything is always, predictable and linear, but it's not, right? But these compounding habits of just the little by little things that you do every day, maybe they have a tiny, minute little difference, right? But maybe because of that habit, you ended up in a situation you wouldn't have previously been in, right? Maybe you got an opportunity because you started waking up earlier, or because you showed up and like went to the coffee shop because you were setting yourself up to work, right? Maybe the little minute differences, the +1 to +1, it's important, absolutely, but it's also the journey of the +1, right? So it's like the habits and the systems, if we want to look at it as a math equation, okay, maybe like it doesn't really make sense to us in terms of like, that seems like a little bit for a lot of work. But if you just think about, all it takes is one thing, one opportunity, one shot. One thing can change your entire life. And so if you are +1 going in some type of the right direction and alignment, there's going to be a lot more opportunity there for you if you continue to go in that direction, right? So it's like, I don't know. I really, as I've, just like grown, advanced as a person, as I do more athletic things, as I coach more, it's just like really honestly getting some people to like buy into themselves, right? To buy into the +1, to buy into, okay, well, let's prioritize your day so you can make sure you get your training in, right? Because like, that's what all of this is about. It's about setting yourself up for the best possible outcome and whatever that looks like to you. If you're a competitive athlete, okay, whatever your outcome is. If you just want to feel better, that's what it's all about. So it's just like stacking the +1s. And I think Atomic Habits really, really lays that out in a way that's really easy to digest and just almost like, like what I was talking about where you have a plan and you can execute. Yep. I think it really does that very well.
Very easy. It's very almost checklist style. Check all the boxes you need to get somewhere.
I like them boxes, Trevor.
All right. So speaking of going towards opportunities, if somebody has the opportunity and want to work with you, how do they contact you? How do they find you?
Contact me at www.bamabricksquad.com. And you can click the link. You can click the link to join the team, and you just fill out an application, and then I'll get back to you. But also you can follow me at Bama Burr or at Bama Brick Squad Training. That's where I post all my athletes, and you can check and fill out the application from there, or just shoot me a message if you have any other questions, because I'd be happy to talk to you and see if we're a good fit.
There's also the Champion Mindset page where you can download, I think, like 100+ episodes of Champion Mindset podcast, so you can work on your mental aspect to get to the same physical aspect.
That's right. So working with me, kind of best bang for your buck almost, right? So, working with me, Bama Respawn Training. I also have my podcast, the Champion Mindset Podcast. So that's where you can, if you got your training and you're feeling not your best, go listen to the Champion Mindset Podcast. I got you. See, looping around, job security.
There we go. All right. Well, Stacy, thank you for joining me for the hour and updating me on everything that's going on in life and how things are going and sharing with everyone how they can be better. And I will post this to YouTube. And once it takes like an hour to upload, it's a long video. But once it's uploaded, I'll send you the link so you can share it. It's been awesome to catch up again. And hopefully I'll get to see you very soon, even though I won't be in Florida when you are.
All right. Well, hey, Texas will be here waiting for you. So my key's under the mat.
All right, man. I'll talk.
All right. Love you, Trevor.
Love you too. Bye.